Hello there, and welcome back to episode 21 of Legend of the GLORIO Heroes, your one-stop shop for hot takes and live reactions to the legendary 1988 science fiction OVA. As always, I'm your host G, and with me, my brother-in-arms, my homie who always lets me stumble into his house in the middle of the night to drunkenly rant about women I've kidnapped recently, is my co-host Hero.
I'm still here.
Yes, I appreciate your open door policy. You know, just everybody's invited to Iro's house if you just want to walk in and discuss politics or kidnappings or staging coups against the government. Whatever you got on your mind, come to Iro's house.
Seize the means of production.
Yes, don't actually come to Iro's house.
Nope.
But we are here to talk about another interesting trio of episodes.
You know, I just want to say, like, when we started this thing, I didn't think, like, I was like, oh, when we get around 50, 60 episodes in, the show will probably just be, like, spinning its fucking wheels. Won't be like, it'll kind of get samey. I was wrong. Like, yeah, I'm still incredibly engaged with what's happening.
Yeah, season 3 started in the last 3 episodes, but I feel like it's these 3 episodes where I was beginning to realize, like, oh my god, this show just never fucking takes a break. This show never just, like, you have expect, like, maybe people, you have expect, like, oh, maybe, like, oh, nobody talks about, like, oh, because a lot of shows are great. A lot of shows are great, but, a lot of shows aren't perfect, right? Like, you have to expect, like, with a show like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, oh, maybe there's a weaker season. Maybe, oh, nobody talks about season 3 because that's the rebellion arc where all they do is, like, trade blows back and forth. No, this show...
Still going. Still strong. Still come up with new things.
This show just somehow manages to come up with new fucking ways to just blow my goddamn mind in what it decides to do and how its plot develops. And we should just get right into it because there's a lot to get through here. Well, there's both a lot and a little going on in these 3 episodes, and we want to talk about it. So we are talking about episodes 58, 59, and 60.
Indeed. All right, episode 58, Visitors. Episode 59, Past, Present, and Future. And episode 60, The Magician is Captured.
Oh my god, is that the actual name of that episode?
Yeah.
We'll get into episode 60 later. We need to start off with episode 58.
Yeah, 58. So, Oberstein waltzes into the office and is like, you should get married, Kaiser Reinhardt.
And once again, just like Reinhardt's again, that's funny. My Secretary of State also told me about that.
Yeah, and even Oberstein recognizes that there's need of an heir in the new dynasty.
Yes. But Oberstein also mentions, you should get married, but by the way, it shouldn't be to Hilda. In fact, we should have Hilda's family murdered for their association with Baron Kuhnmel, which I don't think he's seriously suggesting it. I think he's just hanging that idea in the air to see what Reinhardt's reaction is, which
also just the most fucking Oberstein thing to say.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, by the way, anyone you marry, you should kill all of their relatives so that nobody will vie for your throne.
Right. My bad. It's not for just the Baron Kuhnmel stuff. It is Oberstein's recommendation of just leave your future wife fucking completely isolated from their family so that
your line is the only line.
Which is Oberstein's supposed to be the smart guy who makes the hard choices. This almost feels like Oberstein just being maybe kind of a dumbass here. I feel like he perhaps doesn't recognize the long-term consequences of setting a precedent of murdering your wife's family.
Does Oberstein care about precedent, or does he just care about results right now?
Yes, that is a good point. Point is, Reinhardt is not happy with this suggestion. In fact, Reinhardt directly calls out Oberstein. He's like, this is about Hilda, isn't it? like scared that Hilda might actually have real power down the line, or something. And
also make it so they're not under house arrest. How do you like that, Oberstein?
yeah, also that. And Oberstein's just like,
okay,
all right, fine, whatever you say, sir, I'm out of here. But as we find out in the later episodes, though, like, I begin to wonder if moments like these are what are starting to push Oberstein to... I mean, Oberstein up to this point has already begun to make moves behind Reinhardt's back, but I begin to wonder if it is actions like these that Reinhardt makes that are, like, explicitly contrary to Oberstein's desires.
Right.
That push him even more into, like,
collaborating with Lang.
Yes,
stuff like that.
Yeah, that and, like, the stuff with Lennenkanpt later down. But yeah, speaking of Lennenkanpt, so
we got a report from him about how Yang is under surveillance,
and he is being Yang.
Yep. Basically saying Lennenkanpt thinks the Yang Wenli is up to something. He thinks he's gonna rally what's left of the Empire, or rally what's left of the Alliance to overthrow the Empire's rule there.
Which is not technically incorrect, but also, well,
yeah,
we see how jumping the gun a little bit early on that accusation works out for everybody down the line.
Right, and Oberstein's basically like, yeah, sure, that'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Oberstein wants this to happen because Oberstein is itching for the excuse to put the boot down on the FPA.
Yep.
Like, Reinhardt is more content to take it slow. Reinhardt is more content to, like, over the course of the next 5-10 years, kind of gradually, like, integrate the FPA into the Empire. But Oberstein is like, nah, son, let's fucking slit their throats now, basically. We already have them in chains, so we might as well finish the job. But, in the meantime, because everybody, the war's a success, everybody's back home on Odin, Mittermeyer has somehow managed to live long enough to see his young wife again, the Evangeline Mittermeyer.
Yep. And it only took 58 episodes for us to see Mittermeyer on screen with his wife, which might as well be saying he's so dead this season.
I wonder about that, yeah.
I wonder.
We joke about the introduction of a character's wife being their death flag, but also somehow Kazanu has survived 3 seasons with his wife and daughters on screen.
Character, I don't know.
I mean, we could always, discuss our speculation about Kazanu's eventual fate, but at least up till now, he has been the one character who seems to buck the trend of being married on screen and still surviving.
Mittermeyer's like, man, Reinhardt should get with Hilda. They're such a good fit. Their kid will be super smart.
It's so Mittermeyer. It's such a Mittermeyer statement. Oh man, I bet Hilda and Reinhardt's kid would be super smart. It's like,
oh, Mittermeyer, you're such a fucking.
But also, like, he means it. He's coming from a good place. Mittermeyer doesn't mean an ounce of, like, malice in his statement.
Of course
truly
not.
Believes it.
Mittermeyer is a nice guy.
Speaking of nice guy, he's such a nice guy that apparently Mittermeyer has an open door policy. Apparently anybody can just fucking stroll into the Mittermeyer house.
Reuenthal's his best friend. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, yes, of course. Reuenthal shows up, fucking bouquet of flowers for Mittermeyer's wife.
Which is an incredibly Reuenthal move.
Yes.
I mean, it's like we saw in the flashback when they got married and Reuenthal just, like, strolls up the aisle to, kiss her hand at the wedding.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you want to hope, you don't think Reuenthal would ever actually be a homewrecker, but you also worry that Mittermeyer is just way too trusting with the man he considers his best friend.
Yeah, but, if there's anybody... Look, Or I feel like Reuenthal would absolutely be a homewrecker, but not to Mittermeyer.
Yes, I mean, that's what I mean. Reuenthal would ruin anybody else's marriage, and you just kind of hope that he considers Mittermeyer and his wife the one exception to the rule. But also, yes, it is very Reuenthal to just still pull off these very flirtatious moves on his best friend's wife. But yes, he shows up and he's like,
Hey.
I came to drink in your house and complain about my life. And Mittermeyer's just like, all right,
let's bust out the wine, champagne, or whatever, and get to speaking because we're best friends.
Exactly.
And let's talk shit about Job Truniht.
Yes.
Fuck that guy.
Yes, they discuss Job Truniht, the parasite, and how, like, clearly him selling out the Earth cult is him trying to, like, get into the good graces of the Empire, and that, that is a dude, like, they say he's a man with no pride, no honor, like, he will sell anything, including
a consummate businessman.
Yes, he will sell any asset he thinks he can get away with if it benefits him in some way. And
from the perspective of what he sold, he's incomparable as a businessman, but all he buys is scorn and vigilance.
Yes, it's such a... See, I mean, here's the thing. Again, I think, I prefer the social dynamic of the FPA's members,
But these two are great together.
But yes, Mittermeyer and Reuenthal, and just, like, not only is it the relationship, but yes, it's also the lines they drop. Like, nobody in the FPA is going to say all he buys is scorn. Like, nobody talks that dramatically in the FPA. And it's a subtle thing, but I very much do appreciate, like, the difference in, like, cadence and language between the two factions. But yes, eventually they move on from Job Truniht because whatever, that dude's a putz. Let me tell you about what I've been really up to, Mittermeyer.
Another admiral shows up, just walks in the door.
Right? Yes. Another one. Who was it? It's
Admiral Wahlen. Bearline.
Yeah, Bearline's just like, hey, what's up, Mittermeyer?
I just love that, like. Because, like, it's totally fine. It makes sense that, his wife will just let in Reuenthal because, it's Mittermeyer Reuenthal. But then she's like, oh, honey, Admiral Bearline's here. Like it ain't shit.
Right. And, Mittermeyer, like, being Mittermeyer, like, send him in.
Right. Just wants him. Yeah, to talk. He's like, Admiral Reuenthal also here. Okay. But, turns out Operation Sherwood already been leaked by POWs.
Yes. Apparently it is, the rumors are spreading that Merkatz has survived the Battle of Vermilion and is building up a resistance movement, which,
Gasp.
Again, is all correct. And
it's true. Of course, Mittermeyer's like, how dare you sully the name of a dead man?
Right. I like that, like, Reuenthal's reaction, of course, is like, oh, that's bad news if that's actually true. Like,
big if true.
Big if true, yes. But I like that Mittermeyer's reaction is not, oh shit, that's a dangerous rumor. His reaction is, hey man, Merkatz was a good guy. Don't sully his name like that. He died at the Battle of Vermilion. How dare you? It's like, oh, Mittermeyer. He's so pure. He's more concerned about... He's more concerned about people fucking speaking ill of Merkatz's reputation than
Reuenthal drops the fucking line of, like, to overreact based on rumor and make stupid accusations. We can leave that to the Ministry of Internal Security.
Yes.
Just fucking throw some shit Lang's way.
Yes, I mean, I think yes. I mean, there's an... I do hope we see more of this in season 3. Is more of, like, the internal squabbling of Empire politics. Like everybody, when it comes to wars, everybody likes to talk about battles, right? Wars are won by big battles, and on the second layer, people will occasionally, like me, will talk about logistics and, like, and like the equipment and the preparation of battles. But then there's the third layer, which is the politics, the people back home. What are they talking about? What do they prioritize? And I hope some of this stuff comes up more often because, like, I am very curious, like, as we start to enter what is ostensibly peacetime, though clearly not by the end of episode 60. like, how do tensions flare between, the admirals who are, maybe a big deal during wartime, but kind of lose their prominence during peacetime, and these like internal affairs agencies. But
yeah, but Mittermeyer changes the subject and is like, "Man, I hear you've changed girlfriends again, Reuenthal, starting like an absolutely ridiculous series of
the
events."
maybe most fucking ridiculous Empire ass fucking sequence of events that I've seen in this show in a while.
Yeah, Reuenthal says, actually, another women aren't chasing me this time. I'm chasing a lady. I took her by violence.
Yeah, so he uses that specific phrasing. I took her
Whoa!
by authority and violence, which, look, regardless of how the events actually play out, like, Reuenthal is basically admitting to, like, rape, basically.
Basically.
And, like, Mittermeyer's reaction is a little...
That's not like you. What's up?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
Right, it's... like, I appreciate that Mittermeyer's at least surprised, but also, like, his reaction is still a little... Well, I guess friends have to look out for each other.
Yes.
Both
yeah.
thick and thin.
Turns out Reuenthal, came home one night and some old woman tried to kill him with a knife.
Yes.
Elfried von Kohlrausch here. Just straight up trying to murder him.
Because she is the niece of Lichtenlad.
Yeah, who was arrested, like, the end of season 1?
Yeah. He was...
Jeez.
Right, he was the old guy who was, like, the power behind the throne, the Secretary of State or whatever.
Yeah, and, they arrest him and all that, so she's not happy.
Right, because not only that, but if we all remember, Reinhardt's order of kill all the men above the age of 10.
Yes.
So,
right, but, like, she didn't even know all the details, and Reuenthal's like, yeah, well, I told her everything. And Mittermeyer's like, why? Why'd you do that?
Why would you? Yes, like,
why would you even talk about that?
Yes.
Yeah, but Reuenthal straight admits, like, yeah, when we did that, I was okay with it, but I was fucking shook. But killing all the men above 10 years old, it's making me crazy.
Yes, Reuenthal kind of loses it here for like a couple minutes. He just goes on this fucking wild rant, like...
Right, we cut back to him going home to talk to his lady, because I guess after she killed him, he thought that was hot and started sleeping with her.
Yes.
And keeping her at his home.
Yes.
Just...
as like a prisoner of his home.
Like,
what's
going on?
And then, like, they get in this whole thing of, like, like, Reuenthal starts talking about his mom.
Right, your hands are beautiful, like my mother's hands.
Right, which, like, reminds you...
to stab me with a knife.
Right, which, like, reminds you, oh, right, all of Reuenthal's problems come from his gigantic mother complex. Like, fucking, like, Elfried, like, fucking, like, really gets it. She starts fucking going at it.
Yeah, like, she knew that you would grow up to be a murderer. She was trying to kill you.
He's like, oh, your mother was, like, could have been the hero of our generation if she had, killed you. Yeah. Which sends Reuenthal off the fucking deep end.
Yeah,
he starts ranting about, like...
She starts talking about how the nobility are just institutionalized bandits.
Yes. And, like, fucking Reuenthal starts ranting about how, like, usurpation is 1,000 times preferable to like, people gaining power through inheritance, and that he would gladly, like, fucking tear down the empire 1,000 times than let people in power inherit their positions. And
and Elfried's like, you're talking like a rebel. You're a rebel to the bone.
Yes, he's a bad man. Reuenthal's a rebel without a cause.
Why don't you, if you believe in taking power so much, why haven't you done it? Yeah,
she actually straight up asks, like, Reuenthal, hey, somebody like you is not intrinsically built to be content with where you are in life. And Reuenthal basically admits, he's like, you're right. But for now, Reinhard is the more capable man. He's a more capable man than I.
Yeah, I cannot exceed him.
But what I like about this statement is it's very conditional. It implies, for now, I consider Reinhard my superior. But the day that he thinks that Reinhard falls from grace, or that Reuenthal himself rises above that station,
Yeah,
he will consider it worthy and righteous of him to rebel.
yeah.
So,
Hey, I mean that's the basically the President Reinhardt set. So
yeah, no, that is true. I mean, Reinhardt himself has basically said, yeah, if anybody should surpass me, they've earned it, which I feel like is, again, a bad precedent to set for a stable political system.
yeah,
No, but here we are.
yep. But it's nice to have let Norio Wakamoto cut loose for a few minutes.
Yes. But after that, we finally go back to the Empire military as to prepare.
Their Admiral Wahlen is
preparing to set off for Earth.
Yeah.
And before he does that, though, we find out that he is a widower.
Yeah.
His wife passed away, but he still has a son.
Yeah, leaving his kid with his parents.
Yeah. And now I wonder about Wahlen, because I feel like single parent actually gives you extra plot armor. Like, if he had been saying goodbye to his wife and child, I would say Wahlen is totally fucking dead in the next 6 episodes. But
you can still have this child swear vengeance upon Yang Wen-li.
Right, yeah.
Actually, I guess not. Swear vengeance upon the Grand Bishop of the Earth cult. Yes, I don't know.
I guess I am still curious about how all that stuff goes, because even now I still don't really understand how the Empire could possibly be at risk in this mission of theirs. But yeah, they set off, and we are also informed that Mueller has because of his actions at Vermilion has risen to kind of third in line behind Mittermeyer and Reuenthal.
Behind Mittermeyer, Reuenthal, and Oberstein. Yeah.
Yes, and he is kind of risen up above the other admirals. You know, and he is gifted service. The Parseval.
Yeah, the very first battleship constructed of the Lennenkanpt dynasty,
or the Lennenkanpt dynasty. Yes, and hey, things are coming up for Mueller. You know,
higher ranked than Binfield now.
Yeah. I mean, I think Binfield exists in his own weird. Like, here's the thing. My analysis of Binfield as time has gone on is that Binfield is that dude who will never be the number one guy amongst the admirals.
Mm-hmm.
But where Binfield instead finds success is by so defensively protecting his one single niche that nobody can do it better than him. Sure, Binfield might not be the admiral with the most prestige, but if you need a motherfucker to just run into the fight,
just drop kick him, dude,
and trade blows until both him and the other guy are bloody. Binfield is the guy. Yeah, he's that dude. He might not be, number one head honcho like Mittermeyer or Reuenthal, but Mittermeyer and Reuenthal cannot do what Binfield can do, which is fucking apparently eat shit and keep on trucking. So, good for him, I suppose. But yeah, so with all that ending, we finally return back to Julian.
They've landed at Earth at Lake Namto, which is in Lhasa or
so
they're in Tibet area.
Right. I mean, they are near the Himalayas.
Right.
We get a little bit of interesting lore where we find out that they point at Everest and they say that used to be the Earth's tallest mountain, but after it got bombed during
right when the Black Flags targeted fought back all the way to Earth and started bombing Earth.
Yes, they bombed Everest and took 1,000 meters off of the top, which is a very funny bit of just extra detail.
Yep.
But we find out that the Earth cult's kind of main headquarters is
it's an old bunker under Everest, basically.
Yeah, it's an old government bunker. Like it's some like Fallout shit. Like
Right, the vault.
It's like it's like a vault. Like it's where the Earth government fled to during the war, and the Earth cult has kind of turned it into their I guess their Vatican of sorts. Their primary
Right.
place of operations.
So there's a note about how when the colonies cleared it out, they just flooded it with water and drowned like thousands of people.
Yes. Rather than try to like actually fight their way through it. Hey,
maybe we'll drown this place at some point in the show again.
Yes. Every time I fucking hear more and more about Legend of the Galactic Heroes backstory, the more I recognize that the setting of Legend of the Galactic Heroes is fucking awful, and I would never want to live in it. Like,
yeah, it's patterned off real life. So,
oh god, it's just one fucking awful, destructive, genocidal war after the next. Each one seemingly pushing humanity to the brink of extinction, and yes, kind of like real life. Which
so they all shuffle in as pilgrims to the Earth cult, wearing their dumb robes, and a nice lady from Pluto, comes to talk to them, and it's like, oh, you came from so far. I'm just here from Pluto. You came from Fazan.
Right, yes, their cover story is that they are from Fazan rather than Heinessen.
Yeah, it's not strictly a lie.
Yes, that's true. I suppose that is true, but I think it's more that you don't want to be identified as one of the two primary factions on a place as
right
trepidatious as Earth.
But they're looking for some kind of library that's got information about the Earth cult. But instead they just get their sleeping assignments, and Poplin's like, oh, is it co-ed? Can I sleep with the ladies?
Yeah, Poplin continues to have some of the best lines in this show.
Yeah, and the Grand Bishop's here.
Yeah, with his fucking homie, the real space wizard. We are introduced to this dude who is just like an actual fucking space wizard.
He's got a beard and everything.
Beard and robe and everything.
Yeah, they start by when they get back to their office or whatever, they start talking about how Baron Kunmel's plot has failed. And most of the Earth cult people on Odin have been, sanctioned, murdered, captured, etc. And we can't worry about that now because Empire's sending a fleet to go after us.
Yes. We don't actually see as much of the Earth cult like leadership talking about this as I would have liked. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, that's just like they're supremely confident in their ability to like deal with the situation, or like they still have a trump card we haven't seen yet.
Right.
But then Space Wizard leaves the room.
Yeah.
And we have Earth Bishop by himself just fucking opening up his secret vault.
This guy
has like a fucking beer in it. And dude just cracks open a cold one, like literally.
Yeah, Bald, the Earth cult guy. I think his name is De Villiers.
Yeah. And he's just like, turns out he's just like Rubinsky, just another dude using the Earth cult to further his ends. So
yeah. Narrator goes straight up, says like, no matter the time, men have often been slain by ambition.
Yes.
As this guy pours himself a drink.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, the episode ends there, and we didn't talk about this last week. There was so much to talk about last week. We felt
right.
But, we want to talk about the new ED sequence, which is maybe the hardest fucking thing I have ever had to watch in Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
You thought last AD was bad about implying that they will all die and only Julian will live.
This one just somehow hammers the point home even harder. fucking it starts off with this like really lovely compilation of like Yang Wen Li and Frederica enjoying their married life, like having a picnic in the park,
Okay,
and
with all your
look,
friends.
like Julian and Shenkup are here, and there's Dusty and Kazanu, and they've brought
And
wine
here's
and gifts.
Poplin, and here's even Karen's here.
Karen's here for some reason, and Mercat's made the trip somehow.
That's
They're
right,
all
we're
like,
getting Schneider are here too.
yes, are they still wearing their uniforms in the ED still?
I think so.
Why do
What?
why do
Mercat
most-
is a very traditional man.
Yeah, but it's just like, why do they never change their like? You realize that like that's probably the only set of Empire uniforms they have, right? Like, do they just have it cleaned every day? Like,
look, it's fine. Mercat is a very clean man.
Just saying, every other character in this show has changed their outfit at least once, other than Mercat and Schneider. But yeah, and then the fucking scene zooms out, and you realize it's a series of slides being looked at by a very hard-faced Julian.
Yeah, who's like clearly older than he is now.
Yeah, like an older, grizzled, harder Julian with the most fucking grim expression on his face.
Just
And oh my god, just
all of our favorite characters are just gonna fucking die.
Just oh my god, the implication is just too much for me to handle. Just like what the fuck happens? Like what the fuck? I mean, look, not just what the fuck happens to like Yang and the others in that compilation. And here's the thing, I think here's the thing. I'm willing to accept that. Look, I'm pretty sure that compilation, that collage, is more like. I don't think that collage is real. I don't think those were real photos.
Right.
I don't think that, like, is an actual thing that happened. I think it's more like, it's more like...
There's no time scale for it to have happened.
Right. Like, there's no way in the timeline this picnic could have ever happened. I think it's more representative of, like...
Happier times. Goodbye silent days.
Yes. Like, goodbye to happier times, And, like... And that's why I don't even think every character in that collage necessarily dies. I think it would be a little extreme if every single FBA character other than Julian dies by the end. But like, I think the implication is more like hard times are coming. Like you thought things were bad the past couple of seasons, but harder times are coming.
Yeah, man, FBA is already on the brink.
Yeah, and harder times are coming up for Julian too. Like.
Yeah.
Like we talk about golden child Julian. We talk about Julian who like will be like the golden successor to the FPA spirit. He will inherit like Yang's intelligence and his heart, but also like the combat ability of like Shenkup and the smarts and logistics of Kazalnu and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But also like what kind of situation? What happens to the situation that like forces Julian to rise to that occasion? And the implications of this ED are not optimistic. It very much seems like Julian is. The implications of that ED just feel like it is implied Julian is forced into that role in a way at great personal cost. And
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
at some point.
And the other small detail I do want to bring up is I find it interesting that. At the end of that ED, that older Julian is still on the undutyness. He is not on an FPA ship, Yeah. He does not transfer to an FPA battleship.
They've all been decommissioned, or they're about to be decommissioned.
But like, what I mean is that like even an older Julian is still on a ship that doesn't even have weapons. Like, I
mean, assuming you take that ED as like canon, you know what I mean?
Like, yes. It's obviously we're maybe interpreting too much, because here's the thing: the past two EDs were also not necessarily like indicative of actual events.
Right, we never got this in the second opening. We never got footage of Empire soldiers paratrooping in. Yeah, and I don't think we've actually even seen Julian in show yet wearing a spacesuit. Like, I don't think we've ever actually seen that. I think you might be right. Like you see him does that shot at the end of the first ED where he's like on the space in the spacesuit, like on the moon or some shit. Yeah. But we have never actually seen him like put on like an astronaut suit in any scene up till so I think a lot of it is more like representative than it is necessarily like presenting us actual events. But point is tonally like
I'm sure this is a debate that has occurred across the fan base for decades of like, are you more of an OP guy or an ED guy when it comes to Legend of the Galactic Heroes? And I've always been more of an ED guy. I've
Yeah.
always preferred the EDs. Like they just there's that kind of soulful melancholy to them. There's just this lone man singing about like, you know, saying goodbye to happier times and just
Crossing the bridge of life.
yeah, it's but it really feels like for the FPA side of things, we are getting closer and closer to
Yeah.
to the sad times that the EDs keep alluding to. And I just don't know if my heart's ready for it.
Well, is your heart ready for episode 59?
My heart is ready for a whole season of episode 59. I fucking watch 24 episodes of what's going on in episode 59.
All right,
and I am so sad that this is probably the only episode in this entire damn OVA that we'll get that's like this.
Yeah, well, we open up with Reinhard looking through the secret documents of the Goldenbaum dynasty.
Yes.
National secrets, which are now to be brought to light.
Yes, so we find out about the truth behind the succession of the Goldenbaum dynasty.
This is not all that salacious, honestly.
I mean, it's about as salacious as you'd expect.
I suppose.
There's about as much politicking and conspiracies as you would expect. But
and so we just kind of go through the line of like the first several Kaisers.
Yeah, and it's kind of like weirdly like it's interesting because like it's kind of weirdly grounded. Like it's fairly believable. Like you have the second Kaiser who uses brutal suppression against those who believe in democracy, which is pretty fucking par for the course for autocratic leadership.
Yeah.
Then like the third Kaiser was pretty uneventful. They say nothing interesting happened, which does happen. I mean,
right.
Blessed are the kings and rulers of nations that like were lucky enough to just kind of rule through pretty uneventful times.
Right. The fourth Kaiser, Ottofried I, but however, was a very serious man. They say that no one could ever be like him because nobody ever found him interesting.
Yes. He has
like a robot of a man who
really attached to his schedule.
Right. They called him the ash-colored man.
Yes.
He's so fucking gray and didn't do anything ever.
Yes.
Just like lived his life according to a rigid schedule.
Yes.
They talk about how he's taking his post-lunch walk. And, they have to bring him the incident report because an army base exploded and 10,000 men died. But he was just like, it's not my schedule. I'm not going to hear it.
I mean, there have been a lot of like, what's the word? Eccentric rulers in the past. So, I can kind of appreciate the details of like, here's just this one ruler who's just a fucking weirdo.
Right.
They start to mention, that the rise of his secretary, Eckhart.
Right.
And I kind of like this bit here because Eckhart shows up during multiple dynasties, kind of as often happens in real world politics. Like you often have those people that like are not necessarily the rulers themselves, but they play the politics game well enough that they stay prominent across multiple like leaderships or administrations. Yes, we find out about the fifth Kaiser, Caspar,
right,
and his
Alfred's son. He loves the castrato choir.
Yes, his affinity for the singer boys who are castrated at a young age to maintain their high singing voice.
Yeah, I mean that was a thing in like the 1800s.
Yes, and the fucking narration here were like his preferences for the castrate. In other words, he was a homosexual.
Just like okay.
So maybe it's a little.
Maybe tone it down a little. Legendary like Heroes. It was the early 90s.
But yes, we find out that Caspar is not interested in conceiving an heir, and that he'd rather spend the time with his favorite castrate singer boy, his literal favorite,
his beloved Florian.
Yes. This makes Eckhart super damn angry.
I do like the line about how Rudolph slaughtered gay people because they would pollute the future.
Right, and then
like
here comes like
had them wiped out, or had them rounded up and killed. But
yes, and then here we go.
Say it's one of the ironies of history. They say
yes, the truest ironies of history. And I mean, hey, as we've always said, fucking people in power rarely ever adhere to what they preach. So
right, and Eckhart just tries to have Kaspar murdered, but one Baron Ritzner shows up with his troops to
and just
stop
fucking
Eckhart.
gun him down.
Yeah,
gun his coup down, which is like, oh, it turns out that fucking great, overly dramatic empire shit has been built into the DNA of this empire since day one.
Yeah, but after this incident, Kaiser Kaspar has abdicated and taken some of the money out of the treasury, just had vanished with his beloved Florian.
Yes,
never heard from again. Sure, probably got out while I could.
Then we find we are introduced to Archduke Julius.
Yeah, it's like crazy old man.
Right, like this 70-year-old dude who they say they specifically decide to crown because they figured he'll die soon because the one they actually want in power is his son, Franz Otto.
But he stayed on the throne for like almost 20 years.
Yeah, it's some literal Queen of England. I mean, it's some literal Queen Elizabeth II shit.
Right.
His son fucking is in his goddamn like 70s and like still not the king, still not the emperor because Archduke Julius is like still fucking kicking it at like 8,
and like the son dies of illness.
Yeah.
So the grandson or whatever,
his stepson, Sigmund overthrown by his son Karl. Yes,
Karl Julius.
But Karl Julius had, because apparently he could not wait for Archduke Julius to just fucking kick the bucket at 96, had him poisoned.
All right. But also they make a note that everybody was tired of this weird old man.
Yes, so they didn't really care too much. That said, unfortunately, Karl did not cover his bases because he tries to cover his bases. He has everybody. He has all the like people at that dinner like killed. He forces them to drink poison.
Right.
But one of them manages to, and again, the most fucking empire ass shit ever, write the truth on the inside of a bracelet with lipstick. And has it delivered to like her brother.
Yeah.
Who which reveals the truth of Karl's machinations and allows Marquis Sigmund von Brand to overthrow Karl.
And they
imprisoned.
They just drop Karl in a mental institute and just keep him there the rest of his life. Yeah. They talk about how he lived to be 97 in this mental institute.
Lived longer than his dad.
Lived through like 2 or 3 more Kaisers.
Yes. It's I don't know. Compared to the documentary episodes, I feel like I find it interesting that these were portrayed not as a documentary, but more as like Reinhard reading the notes, like reading declassified like papers. And like they have like a little moment here where they're like, and through all of this, Reinhard had a slight smile on his face or something.
Yeah.
This was like, oh, this is like entertainment to Reinhard.
Yeah, it says he may not be the student of history that Yang Wen-li is, but he had to know the past in order to walk towards the future or something. Yes.
But who cares about that? Because we're actually
here away from that halfway through the episode to Yang Wen-li's married life.
Yes, to my favorite new sitcom, Welcome to the Yangs.
Right. Of course, we start with them receiving a fax from the government that they reduce his pension.
Yang Wen-li's pension has been reduced.
Those bastards.
Which is like, how can you fucking do Yang dirty like that? Like, there are probably not even that many FPA admirals left alive to even get pensions. And like, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's a minor thing, but it's such a weird, petty move to pull on him. Like, just because, he almost killed Reinhard and 90% of his fleet. Like, we're just gonna, like, fucking kick him in the dick a little bit more. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm playing back chair emperor here, but I feel like frankly, like, I mean, here's the thing. Yang is such a principled dude. No matter how much you bribed him, he would not like acquiesce. But I just feel like if you want to like keep a nice, peaceful FPA, I don't know why you wouldn't just be fucking like
give Yang Wenli whatever he wants.
Yang Wenli make Yang Wenli fat and happy, because that's all he actually wants. Like.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like episodes 59 and 60 can be summarized as literally everybody. The Empire and the FPA, literally everybody in this show does not understand what Yang Wenli wants. Because if they did, they would not do the things they do to him in these next 2 episodes. But yeah, this episode is like, the last half of this episode is kind of just like, there's a little bit of like maneuvering here, like, but it's a lot of just Yang kind of like try to enjoy his married life with Frederica. There are bits of like Frederica apologizing because she thinks she's not a good enough cook for Yang, and frankly, I think Yang shouldn't fucking complain, because like Yang has lived his entire life on a diet of tea, alcohol, and sandwiches. So really, anything other than that is already a step up. But
we get Lennenkanpt yelling at like the main liaison to Yang Wenli.
Yeah,
he's been like, "Don't be deceived by this man lazing around. I'm sure he's coming up with some way to take us down. And he's like, just looking for the sake of appearances."
Right. It's like nobody, like, because of his reputation, because of what he's done, because of his actions. And in many ways, actions often, for better or worse, speak louder than a person's true personality. Like, people just assume, like, Yang Wenli is this insidious...
something. He's a source of disease. He's a trickster.
Yes, he will, if pushed, he will, as they say, unleash his full and terrible power. Like... And here's the thing, like, he's not wrong. Like, Yang Wenli is still planning the Sherwood Forest stuff.
Right. He's right, but he's wrong about the reasoning. Because he's like, there's no way a man who's been so successful in his military career would just retire like this. Like, he must be seeking more glory somehow.
Right, because Lennenkanpt is cut from that old Empire cloth. He just assumes powerful men must be like me. They must always be seeking more power. Like, no powerful, or no, not even powerful, no important man in history wants to be content, like, with what they have. And, like, here's the thing, like, he's not wrong in the sense that, yes, is Yang planning something, but Yang's timeline for his plan, he even said himself, is like 5-10 years. Like, Yang would have been content.
Relax for a while.
Yang would have been content to let the Empire do its thing for the next the next decade, if nobody poked the bear's nest.
Right.
And, like, because, like, they're talking about, like, what is he doing in this episode? He's just fucking...
laying around.
He's hanging out with his wife and playing with his cat. And, like, the most insidious thing Yang does is, like, they come up with a plan to, like, have Frederica, like, learn how to cook from Kazalnu's wife as an excuse for Yang to meet up with Kazalnu. But even then... The implication of their conversation is that they're not even talking that much about, like, the Sherwood Forest stuff. In fact, most of the conversation is just Kazalnu shitting on Yang like usual.
Yep. Yang there's the like liaison guy is all clearly like he's like, this guy's not doing anything.
Right. His liaison guy is pretty fair. He's
and Yang is nice to him. He's like, I know it's just your job,
A man must be loyal to his paycheck,
Yes.
And, says, I mean, that's why I did everything I did to the Empire.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Yang has always been a pretty fair and forgiving guy. Like, he gets that, like, I mean, hey, these Empire dudes that are guarding his house are not being complete dicks to him, and B, hey, their orders are orders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hey, at least they let him leave the house,
Yeah, only if he reports in.
Right.
Yeah, but Frederica is sad about her cooking or whatever. And so
But so then they come over to Kazunu's house. During this whole sequence, we have a lot of fantastic dialogue between Kazunu and his wife. Turns out that like Kazunu probably gets a lot of practice verbally sparring against his wife, so no wonder why he is so good at talking with Yang. So.
Right. And so Frederica and Yang come over to Kazunu's place under the pretense of Frederica learning how to cook from the experienced housewife.
Yes, we have a good bit here where they keep having to correct themselves. It's not Miss Greenhill, it is Mrs. Yang now.
Yes. The occasional reminder that when Yang is his family name.
Yes, that is not his actual first name. Yeah. But
like how he shows up with a wine or with like some fancy wine or whatever. And Kazunu is like, you need to visit more often with the hard stuff.
Yeah, you keep bringing the drippy shit.
Bring me cognac, not the weak stuff.
Right. And like Yang's like, well, I'm just trying to appeal to the true ruler of the house.
Good
like
times.
It's the thing of like, look, I think Kazunu, like compared to like, the Mittermeyer Reuenthal relationship, Kazunu is just never going to be as important or on the same level as Yang Wenli.
Right.
But at the same time, like I think maybe the most valuable thing Kazunu brings to the FPA is just his very like uneven like verbal footing with Yang Wenli.
Yeah.
Like their dynamic is maybe one of my favorite in the whole show, like because Yang doesn't really get a lot of people he can like talk with on that level. Like there's Julian, of course, but sadly Julian is kind of off doing his own thing. In early on they seem to imply like Dusty would have been like Yang's like friend in number 2, but Dusty is kind of
Dusty doesn't do that much.
Dusty doesn't actually do that much. Then you think, oh, maybe it's Shenkanpt, but same thing with Shenkanpt. Shenkanpt is kind of more there to play devil's advocate to Yang. Like, It really is just Kazunu in terms of like somebody who can like speak with Yang on roughly the same intellectual level, but has the benefit of being a fair bit more pragmatic than Yang is. But
so,
and they just like I said, I would just fucking watch a whole goddamn season of
Yang Wenli married life.
The quiet married life of Yang Wenli.
Yang Wenli just wants a quiet life.
He does. This is if y'all would just leave Yang Wenli alone, you would not incur his dark and terrible wrath in the way you were all about to.
And show that he is still hitting the bottle pretty hard.
Yes. I mean,
the reason we want things is because the body needs it. Yang Wenli, bless you.
Yes.
But they say an event is about to shatter his quiet life.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. You cannot have too many episodes like this because Yang is too important to the plot to, highlight him like this, so...
The show is fundamentally not about Yang Wenli's married life.
But, in our Season 2 finale podcast where we talked about our perfect spinoffs, I realized what my new perfect spinoff would be. It would just be like... It would be like a literal sitcom. It would just be like the fucking day-to-day life of like Yang Wenli and Frederica and like getting into hijinks, like... I don't know. Oh no, like Frederica wants to bake a cake for Yang's birthday, but she doesn't have the right ingredients.
Put too much rum in the rum cake.
Right, like, oh no, she ruined the cake and the Empire Guards won't let her leave to go to the grocery store to buy more ingredients. And then the episode would be about like Kazunu and his 2 daughters like coming up with like an elaborate plan to like distract the guards long enough for like Frederica to like escape the house and like go buy ingredients for the cake.
Dumb fat cat got stuck in this tree somehow.
Right. They would, like,
didn't put it here.
They would sneak the cat into the tree, and then the Empire Guards.
Please help me!
Like, oh no, we have to get that cat out of the tree. And it would scratch up that one dude's face, and he'd be like, this cat is even tougher than meerkats or something. This cat is putting up a more stiff resistance than
Honorary Rosenritter. This cat
is putting up more resistance than Braunschweig.
Yeah.
In the end, in the end of the episode, like Frederica wouldn't be able to make the cake, but that's fine because it would reveal that Yang fell asleep from drinking too much anyway. So, but yes, alas, we roll into episode 60.
Yeah, where as in accordance with the Treaty of Bartlett, the FPA must decommission a bunch of its ships.
Basically, all of them.
Yeah, but
all that are left at this point.
Yeah, but some alliance ships come up and they're like, "Hey, we'll help you out with these ships."
Right, and the commander here is very trusting. He's like, "Okay, well, I didn't get a report, but you're the alliance, so
yeah, you're marked as friendlies on the IFF." So, Merkatz's flagship, the Shiva.
This is
a bunch of fucking menacing spikes on it, and like fucking
a billion goddamn laser
guns on it.
I like the Shiva. It's a mean looking ship. Like I like the Hyperion, but the Hyperion very much feels like a hero's ship. It feels like that's Yang's ship. The Shiva feels like, I mean, you could even feel it in the name. The Shiva is not a ship meant to command from the back line. The Shiva is a ship that is meant to fucking get in there and trade blows. Like, that is and like we say spikes, but I mean, realistically, those are probably just like, communication antenna or whatever.
Yeah, but no other ship has like 30 of them.
Right, but it creates such an intimidating like profile. Like, man, it's just like, I like that ship. Like, you don't see a lot of ships in Legend of the Galactic Heroes with this kind of like vibe to it.
Right.
Like it's halfway to a pirate ship almost. Like what like a space pirate ship would look like in this setting. But
I mean, it's kind of what they are now.
Yes, I mean, I guess that is what they're doing, because Merkatz shows, or not even Merkatz, some other FAA dude is like, "Hey, we're the rebels, and we're taking the ships. We're the freedom fighters, and you should all join us."
Yeah.
The lights guys there are like,
a bunch of people are like, "Yeah, we'll join up," including one Lieutenant Commander Hamdi Azure.
Yes, which is a great name.
Like, bearded, mustachioed man.
Great look, great name. I have high hopes for this dude. I hope he does not turn out to be a fucking awful person. But
yeah, and so a bunch of them jump ship, and the commander there reports back to the fucking tribunal, including Oliveira. Is like, "Oh, they took a bunch of the ships."
Dean Oliveira is somehow still allowed.
Yep, and so Hamdi comes to talk to Merkatz and is like, "So before I really join you, I need to know, like, what are your intentions here? Because you were part of the government in exile for the Empire."
Yeah. I mean, I think Hamdi's questions are entirely valid.
Yeah, it shows that he's got a good head on his shoulders.
Like, like we know Merkatz. We know Merkatz is a good guy. We know Merkatz is good people. But he is a defected Empire admiral. It is entirely valid to ask, well, why are you accumulating this giant fleet? Like, what are you like? Are you planning to like reinstate the Golden Bomb dynasty? Like, are you just here to like fuck up the Empire because they wronged you? Like, what is this revenge? Like, what are you actually doing here? And it's a reasonable, like, at least ask, because like these Alliance guys who are defecting are making a huge risk. They're jumping ship to a criminal element that, should they be caught, would be executed to the last man.
Yep, and like say, well, Merkatz, your name isn't really right to lead this fleet.
Yeah, no, he's right. Like
but perhaps we need a younger, more charismatic man to lead this.
Right.
This was very funny to me that Schneider is like, "Oh, did you mean Yang-Wen Lee?" And Hamdi's like, "Do not speak his name."
Yes, like, do not speak his name, for it may evoke like dark forces. Which I
like, you'll get him in trouble.
Right. I do like. I get to append that now to Yang-Wen Lee, the magician, Miracle Yang, the force. The source of disease.
Trickster.
Yang-Wen Lee, the trickster. Yang-Wen Lee, do not speak his name. But yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. Like,
Yeah.
Many a rebellion in the past, many a movement in the past, any movement, both military and non-military, often rely on like singularly unifying individuals who are like charismatic or famous, or their actions speak large enough that people feel inspired and committed to joining, as much for the cause as for the person in mind,
Yeah.
like as much as I don't subscribe to great man theory, like it is undeniable that like singular charismatic rulers can often like make a huge difference. I mean, you have like just, stuff like Joan of Arc, or hell, to go a more peaceful modern route, people like Martin Luther King Jr. Like
Right.
people want to rally around a charismatic and singular face. And I definitely noticed that detail. Like when they announced like they were going to, take the alliance ships for the freedom fighters, I definitely noticed it was not Merkatz that announced that.
Right.
That it was like some generic alliance guy, because it's a totally different vibe, right? Like Merkatz, I think he understands the politics of, he cannot be the dude calling and rallying alliance military to his side.
Because, yeah, as he says, he was fighting for the Empire 3 years ago.
Exactly. But alas, though, at the same time, evoking Yang Wenli's name does have some consequences.
Right. And capturing these ships started a rumor that although it was Merkatz who did it, it was Yang Wenli. It was under Yang Wenli's orders, which true, basically true.
Not wrong.
But they go into how, but those who spread the rumors did not base them on facts. They just decided to, FPA brass decided to use this as a reason to take down Yang Wenli, because the FPA brass still has a vendetta against Yang Wenli, I guess.
I am astounded. I'm not surprised, but I am astounded. 60 episodes in,
they're still doing this shit.
The FPA is destroyed in all but name. And yet, even now with Yang Wenli laid low, retired, stripped of his pension, like, even now, the FPA leadership still manages to find new ways to be self-destructive in the name of their own short-sighted greed.
Yep.
Like,
so they forge a bunch of letters and send them to Lennenkanpt.
Right, which is like, and here's the thing, right? Like, the really fucked thing about this whole situation is, it's not even just one bad actor. It's a series of bad actors who all want and desire a specific outcome, and they're willing to literally ignore the truth in the name of realizing that outcome. Like, you have the FPA leadership forging letters to take down Yang Wenli. Then you have Lennenkanpt, who gets these letters and
like is advised that that's bullshit.
But Lennenkanpt himself also wants to take Yang Wenli down. Like,
right.
It's stated multiple times by multiple people, like, Lennenkanpt, you're not doing this just because you hold a personal grudge against Yang Wenli, right? Like, you're not doing this because you just want petty revenge on him. And he keeps insisting, no, I'm doing this for the Empire. But also,
it would be really convenient for him if, there happened to be a way to take down Yang Wenli.
Right, like, it would be very convenient if Lennenkanpt got to be the guy who, like, took down Yang Wenli. Like, sure, he never beat him on the field, but he took him out while, during the occupation. Like, and then this extends all the way to, we'll get into
the record fucking show. Award you Lebello, dog.
Yeah, I guess.
Award you Lebello.
I'm surprised, honestly. I thought Lebello would be I feel like in the past we saw a version of Lebello that was had a little bit more of a spine than this, but we find out that Lebello capitulates pretty easily to the demands of the Empire government, and
yeah,
I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, is this cowardice or pragmatism?
And then, I mean, in the name of not allowing the Empire to get any hold over, like, what they're able to do, You know, if
Right.
he decides to capitulate.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. Like
After convening with Dean Oliveira.
right, he gets convinced by fucking Dean Oliveira of
Right.
all people that not only should we
Such a
hand
long
over
name, motherfucker.
which not only should we hand over Yang Wenli to the Empire, but we should let them execute him.
Yep.
Again, for a crime that they have zero evidence for. This is all based purely on rumor and speculation. And again, this is what I mean by multiple bad actors. Like multiple bad actors who all desire the same outcome. So they just circumvent due process, they circumvent like doing things the proper way, all so they can get the same greedy, short-sighted outcome. And again, this extends all the way up to Oberstein. Like,
Yes.
like Oberstein plays to Lennenkampt's ego. Oberstein lets this all happen because he too also doesn't really care about how something is accomplished. He
As
just
long
wants
as it
to
is, yeah.
like he is happy either way. Either Yang Wenli capitulates and gets executed, which is great for him, or he doesn't, and the Empire gets an excuse to again put the boot down on what's left of the FPA.
Yep.
Like he doesn't care if this is the right way to do it. He doesn't care who gets caught in the crossfire. He just wants to see it happen. And
yeah,
man,
so
it's fucked up shit. And so yeah, like
the MPs or whatever come by to arrest Yang Wenli.
Yeah, and you know, Yang being the good man he is just like, whatever.
Fine,
They won't execute me without evidence, right? I'll be back soon enough, Frederica. And fucking Frederica on the other hand,
this sequence pretty good.
We have this amazing
shit.
We have this amazing fucking suit up sequence with Frederica, who knows better than Yang, fucking puts on her uniform and fucking pulls the fucking gat out of like the kitchen drawer, loads it, aims it at the mirror, fucking like taxi driver style. Like,
yep. So I can like, if you think you can do whatever you want, just you're mistaken.
Yes. Fucking do not fuck with Mrs. Yang.
Yeah, you know, how dare you deprive her of her happy married life at this point?
Yes.
How dare you?
No, you fuckers. All she wanted was to spend her days with Yang Wenli, and now you fucking FPA stooges, you Empire fucks, you have all poked the bear's nest. The bear was hibernating. The bear was happy to just sit around and get fat. Like, the bear was just drinking and eating and like to enjoy a well-earned vacation. And it's all you dumbasses who are all like, we got to arrest the bear. Let's agitate it and force its hand, as if we don't understand the concept of historical precedent that literally every single time somebody has forced Yang's hand, somebody has died, some army has been destroyed.
It's too powerful.
They just don't get it. And so
well, Oberstein contacts Lennenkanpt, basically saying, I hear Yang Wenli has been arrested. If you really want to, like, you don't want to murder Yang Wenli, because Reinhardt won't be happy about that. So what you should do is ask to extradite him to the Empire.
And not only that, but publicly announce you are doing so, because it will force out Merkatz out of hiding.
Right. So kind of a win-win situation for the Empire.
But we have a great bit here where Lennenkanpt is like, does Reinhardt know about this? And Oberstein shoots it right back to Lennenkanpt. He's like, do you want Reinhardt to know about this? And
immediately after this conversation, we see a bit of Oberstein, pushing some buttons on his cool club cybernetic eye.
Yeah, turns out he is
right. They don't say he's recorded it, but like my instant assumption upon seeing that was, oh, he recorded that shit.
Yes, he recorded the conversation, which I think is the implication.
I think that's a reasonable enough assumption.
Yes,
I mean, robo eyes, I would be recording a lot of shit.
Yeah, the cold, calculating cybernetic eyes are up to no good. Like, fucking, you know what? I'm not saying the Inferior Genes Law Act was good. I will say I entirely now understand why you would not trust a motherfucker with cybernetic eyes who can record anything he sees. Like, there is a danger to be found there, especially when those cold, calculating cybernetic eyes belong to fucking Oberstein.
Yes. Now, and his number 2 lays it out that, like, if Lennenkanpt fails in this, then whatever, because they'll have a reason to they'll have a casus belli to just fully crush the alliance.
Yeah, no, he explicitly says that like Lennenkanpt is an expendable admiral, like,
Yep.
and I think this is an interesting. I think we're beginning to see an interesting long-term plan in effect. I don't think like Oberstein is necessarily going to start doing this on purpose, like that rapidly. But I kind of suspect what Oberstein is beginning to do is erode Reinhardt's cabinet of admirals. Because
Right.
as it stands right now, like, yes, is Oberstein technically Secretary of Defense? Does that mean he technically holds like a superior authority to, you know, the rest of the admirals? Yes. But also, I think we all recognize if Oberstein actually tried to like push his authority, the admirals, especially guys like Mittermeyer and Reuenthal,
Yeah.
are not going to take that lightly. You know, like there
Mm-hmm.
are politics.
Nobody likes him.
Right. Nobody likes Oberstein. That's the thing. He has no support. Like, and that's why I'm getting to suspect. And I don't think he's going to like start killing off Reinhardt's admirals left and right purposely. But I think he's doing a little bit of a Rubinsky here. He's
tweaking the
rope.
situation to his advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, he is tightening the rope in a way that forces the other admirals to either do what he wants or die in the process, which is also what he wants. Like, he is kind of like Reinhardt, he is creating situations that are win-win for him. And I think the reason he is doing that is because I think the more admirals Reinhardt starts to lose, the more he'll have to start relying on Oberstein.
Yeah.
Like, I think as we saw with episode 58, Reinhardt is still in a place where he can easily like tell Oberstein to shut the fuck up and like leave him alone. I think what Oberstein wants is a situation in which Oberstein is the only person he can rely on. And like, you know, with Reuenthal thinking of his, you know, his dreams for a coup, and God knows what'll happen to Mittermeyer as a result, and you know, the rest of the admirals, who can say what'll happen to them, you know, down the line. Like, I think there's very much an intentional effect here with Oberstein's machinations. He has tried to remove the competition. You know, I mean, look at what he tried to do with Hilda. I mean, obviously, I don't think he would actually try to execute Hilda and her family right now. But like the fact is, he is making his intentions clear. If he had it his way,
yes,
like Hilda would be out of the picture. And you know, I think that this is only going to grow more and more blatant. He is only going to continue to these kind of like very slimy operations outside of Reinhardt's notice, you know, and we will see what that does to the Lohengrin dynasty. But we still have a little bit of this episode left. We want to get through real quick.
Yeah. Young Winley's arrested, and we talk about how he knows there's no legal basis for this, but he's understanding that the situation is already like escalating beyond his projections.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And that him being arrested, surveillance has increased on his known cohorts.
Yes, including Dusty and Shenkop.
Yeah, who meet for dinner at restaurant Marked Rabbit.
Yes.
You know, the old haunt.
They're being very obviously tailed by a bunch of goons.
Yes.
They talk about like, well,
what's going on, basically.
Yeah, what's the plan, right?
The Imperials want them to try and do something because you know, then they have casus belli to crush them.
They recognize that unfortunately they've been caught in a very sticky place. Like, you know,
either the FPA gives Young up to the Empire, or they execute themselves.
Right. Or alternatively, like extremist elements of the quote unquote extremist elements of the Alliance show up to fight and take Yang back, which reveals the existence of a rebellion, which gives the Empire an excuse. It's like it sucks because, like, they talk about, like, well, fuck it, no
There's no
matter.
good situation for this. Like,
Right. Yeah. Like, and here's the thing. I'm sure Young has accounted for this, but I'm beginning to think even Young himself is like, they'll probably wait at least a couple years to arrest me, right? Like they wouldn't they wouldn't jump the gun this quickly, would they?
except they are.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Shenkanpt, slimes back a few glasses of wine, and it basically is like they dare to use Yang Wenli as a sacrifice, treat him as he's disposable, and they hope that we're plotting to overthrow the government. Well, then let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
They want us to do it, we'll just give them a fucking show.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, Shenkanpt and Dusty leave. Obviously, they're getting tailed by the cops.
Yeah, they get in their auto-driving car.
Yeah. Yeah, we finally we get a hell of a reveal here.
They just drop it.
Yes, Shenkanpt has an estranged daughter.
Yeah, because he was sleeping his way around in his late teens, early 20s.
Yeah,
and about 15 years ago,
yeah, slept with some lady.
Yeah,
and
sucked with a Von Cruiser.
Yeah, and around the Battle of Vermilion, received contact from that daughter, and that daughter is none other than Karen. So all those times, Julian was like, "Why do I recognize her?"
Right, is that familiar resemblance?
Turns out he was seeing Shenkanpt in her eyes this whole time. Which is, boy, I'm sure Julian would handle it. I'm sure not that Shenkanpt has the right to be a dad, but if anyone could handle having Shenkanpt as your father-in-law, it's probably Julian.
Yeah, he's already it. Oh boy! And so we just end episode with like cracking his knuckles and grabbing hold of the wheel.
Yes, switching to manual mode.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, and it's a car chase with the cops, and then the episode ends with a fucking off-screen explosion. Which, god damn it, I cannot believe the episode ends there.
We hit it like
it just casually drops all these reveals,
right.
And like see you next week.
Like not a month after, the coronation of Kaiser Reinhardt and the dissolution of the PA or whatever.
We have already
popping off.
In that month, we have gotten already one attempted assassination on the Kaiser's life, and the rapid rise of a militant rebellion element in the FPA. It's
a lot.
It's like, again, I'm not going to say it's unrealistic, because everything about Legend of the Galactic Heroes is oftentimes very grounded and very believable. But it's kind of ridiculous how rapidly things seem to happen in this show. Like, you would think the events of these last 3 episodes would take course over, like, months, maybe a couple years. Like,
no, it's been a couple months.
Yeah, it's just the fact that it's
a month or two. Yeah,
just really
some real shit.
It's so much.
So while Julian's hanging out on Earth, trying to infiltrate the Earth cult to figure out what's their fucking deal, while Admiral Wahlen is leading a fleet to subjugate the Earth cult.
Yes.
At the same time, Kaiser Reinhardt's thinking about his marriage prospects.
And at the same time, Lennenkanpt is trying to get Yang Wenli, not just Lennenkanpt, fucking everybody on Earth is trying to get Yang Wenli executed.
The establishment's trying to take out Yang Wenli.
Yes.
And it's up to the squad to
Yes. And meanwhile, Murkatz is leading the rebellion element over in Sherwood Forest. Oh my god.
That was fucking good.
And then, you know what? He didn't even show up in these last few episodes, but guess what? Fucking Adrian Rubinsky.
That's right, he's still out there.
He's still out there hiding.
God damn it.
Oh my god. Just the way this show so definitely manages to juggle so many plot lines so well is just
excellent.
It's so yes, just no other show comes even I don't even mean that in the sense of no other show is as good as Legend of the Galactic Heroes, but no other show manages to
juggle this much stuff.
Yes, to just juggle so many complex plot threads at the same time and like make good on almost all of them. Like it.
Yeah, I'm very, very invested.
It's some fucking shit, man. But
yeah, woof.
Yeah, a lot of, like I said, kind of a lot and a little happens in these episodes,
Yeah, like, so what do we think's coming up next?
I don't know, because here's the thing, I thought this trio of episodes would be all about Julian on Earth.
Right.
I did not actually think we would be getting into the like Yang Sherwood Forest stuff this quickly. Like, I thought these 3 episodes would be nothing but Julian, like, trying to dodge laser blasts on Earth or something, like, getting into shootouts with the Earth cult. So, like,
yeah,
I don't know, pacing-wise, what they're going to do. Like, are we going to go back to the Earth cults? Are we going to...
I think after a cliffhanger like this, we have to have some stuff on Heinesen.
Yes. So I think, if I'm going to guess what the next 3 episodes are, I'm going to assume we're going to find out what happens to Dusty and Lennenkanpt. Spoilers, I don't think they blow up. I'm pretty sure those characters still have stuff left to do in this show.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to be something like, are they going to like bust Young out of jail? Because I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know.
Just, meet up with Frederica, call in some Rosenritter boys.
Right. Like,
this is a raid.
Like, that's the thing, is like, I don't know how Young gets out of this. Because like, they also allude to the idea of like luring Merkats out of hiding, which that might happen, but then if that happens, then that really like kicks everything off in a way that like I don't see how the rebellion stands a chance at this point, right?
Right.
But they say they captured 400 battleships.
I think they might bust Young out, and Young will say, "Well, I guess I'll go to the Empire," and let things blow over for a bit, because
what does that mean, go to the Empire?
Like, I don't know,
he's accused of treason. On paper.
But also, like, if he can arrange meeting with Reinhardt in any way, I feel like Reinhardt won't allow them to execute Yang Wenli, you know? But
that depends on Yang reaching Reinhardt.
Right, getting all the way up the chain.
But I think the problem is that Reinhardt is so distant now because of the nature of him as the singular ruler of the Lohengrin dynasty. Like, what is stopping, like, any number of other elements, like Oberstein or Lang or even Reuenthal, from getting in the way? Like, of course, like, if somehow someone manages to get Reinhardt's ear,
you know what it is? You know what? It's time to bust out what we left at Iserlohn, right?
Oh man. Yeah, who knows, right? That's still in play.
The thing there, that's how we do it, Like, if we hold Iserlohn, then we can, like, it's impregnable.
Yeah, that's true, and it's self-sustaining.
That's where, we just get Iserlohn again, and that report has to reach Reinhardt,
Yeah, we just fucking steal Iserlohn again for like the fucking 4th goddamn time. But yeah, like, I think that's the exciting thing, as always. It's a new season, and the possibilities are endless. There's any number of directions this can go. Like, what will Julian discover on Earth? Like, what will
find out next time?
What will Reinhardt do when he finds out that, like, elements beneath him are moving, like, without his consent? Like, there are so many different, like, threads that are going on, and I can't wait to see how they all resolve.
Yeah. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's going to be a podcast.
Yeah.
There's some stuff I wanted to get into, like the nature of, like, military occupation.
Oh, sorry.
And, like, how an occupation is handled can, like, dramatically affect, like...
Oh, that's right. We did have this conversation while watching.
Like,
right.
I have this whole bit about how, like, Lennenkanpt is in many ways both the perfect and the worst possible person to assign to, like, a military occupation of a conquered nation. He's we thought he was uncompromising but loyal. Turns out he is compromising and not loyal. So it turns out he's actually not a good person to handle a military occupation. But and I was going to turn this into a tangent about MacArthur and the occupation of Japan, but it's getting late in the podcast. So Just pretend I went on a 10-minute tangent about MacArthur's occupation of Japan.
Oh, please, by all means.
And how that had like dramatic effects on like, the ratification of Japan's modern constitution and the effect on their politics, or how like the American like occupation kind of stamped out the like burgeoning socialist movement in Japan, which is why like modern Japan is so like, economically conservative, and how that affects their work ethic. Just imagine I went on that tangent. but and just like how like that stuff like can have long in the tooth consequences on how an occupied nation develops even after the occupiers have left, but suffice to say,
man, I'm excited that I'm still excited about Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
Yes.
60 episodes in.
Totally fucking... We all said, like, oh man, 110 episodes. Now that we're more than halfway through, I'm kind of worried, like, oh no, is 110 episodes going to be enough to cover? All right, so let's take care of the housekeeping. So you can read all of our content, including this podcast, at theglorioblog.com. You can follow us on Twitter at theglorioblog. You can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, wherever podcasts are bought and sold. Don't actually buy our podcast. If you're spending money on our podcast, something has gone horribly wrong. You can also listen to the podcast. We upload it to YouTube. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave a review. You know the drill. We'd all appreciate it.
Indeed. Listen to our other podcasts.
Yes, our sister podcasts, in the plural now, the GLORIO Chat, where we try to talk about this season's anime and kind of fail miserably because there's not that much to talk about. So, make our kind of weird pivot to a news discussion. Additionally, we have started up a new podcast, Neon Genesis Evanglorio, where Iro, Gel, and I, kind of talk about the legendary 1995 mecha anime, Neon Genesis Evangelion, where both Iro and Gel kind of, talk about their feelings about the show, rewatching it now in 2019, whereas I, who have actually has actually never watched Evangelion, I'm kind of going through it fresh for the first time, and suffice to say, I have some takes, but it's also a very interesting show, and I think we kind of have some very fun conversations about that show and kind of what it means and what it means, like 20 years later, and what it does that make it so special. I think with all that said, you can watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes on BRB and High Dive. Iro, help me out here. Am I missing anything?
We're on. Did you already get that we're on Spotify and Podbean?
Yes, I said that.
YouTube,
yes,
etc. Yes. Okay, I think that's everything, man.
All right, then. In that case, thank you all for listening. Iro, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I think we covered everything that I wanted to say.
I think we did as well, or at least I think we did, until somebody in the comments reminds us about some really huge, important conversation that happened that we forgot about. And no, that's not throwing shade at you guys the slightest. We love the comments. Just, you gotta understand, these shows are dense. These episodes are dense as hell. We try to talk about everything, but God, just so much happens every episode. You have to forgive us if, we forget a plot development here and there. Maybe someone can remind us, did Lennenkanpt do anything important? Because dude seems to have a real chip on his shoulder about Yang Wen Li.
I think he was defeated a long time ago.
I just don't remember if he did any, or if, I don't even remember if he fought Yang. When somebody mentioned what Wahlen did, I was like, oh, that all comes back to me. But Lennenkanpt wasn't even part of the original,
wasn't
admirals.
He
was like the second wave.
Wasn't he the one stationed at Iserlohn?
Was he?
I think I want to say yeah.
Wait, after Yang fled?
No, at the start.
No, wait, no. That was those other two old guys.
I think that's a podcast.
Well, maybe someone in the comments can remind us how did Lennenkanpt get screwed over by Yang Wen Li?
Yep, I'm sure it did happen at some point.
But yes, I think that will call it a podcast. So one more time, thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time amongst the Sea of Stars.